What? You don't know what is an IP and why it is used for? Don't worry, billions of computer users don't know it either. It's alright, let me tell you, it is the passport to the internet. Without internet we cannot survive. Still, without the passport, without the IP address, we cannot use the internet. Let me explain how. The IP, fully known as Internet Protocol, is the way of communication over the internet. It is the protocol of communication over the internet. It is the way of communication where the sender's data is being packetized and routed through different devices. Like you have address for your home where you can get different mails, different parcel delivered to your doorstep. Similarly, we have address for each of the devices. Those devices are connected to internet so that the particular information can be sent and received through that device. Your home have a street number, house number. Similarly, we have the number system available for our each internet connected devices. That's nowadays called Internet of Things. That means those things connected to internet, they can be called as Internet of Things. Each Internet of Things have separate IP address, separate address for them to send and receive data. Let me tell you one cool thing. Each of the website like Google, Amazon, Flipkart, they have their own IP address. If we put that IP address on the URL bar, we can access those website, right? Without that website, we cannot connect to that server, or without connecting that server, we cannot access through that website. It's very simple. The first version of Internet Protocol or the first version of IP is version 4, that is together called IPv4. It is launched in the year of 1981, where the next version of IP is launched in the year of 1998, where it is called IPv6. Mainly the IPv6 is more secure and it is launched to replace the previous version of IP, that is called IPv4. So the latest version, till now the latest version of IP is IPv6. So here a quick glance about different IP or Internet Protocol structure that is available for each of the device. You can see around this. However, if you are interested to make your career in IT software related field, I have dedicated playlist. I have plenty of videos available in my YouTube channel. You can check out those. Let me continue further related to IP. An IP is a set of number, those are provided to each devices. Those devices are connected to internet. Each of the address will be unique and different from one another, so that like our house address, a particular mail can reach in our particular house. Similarly, a particular packetized data, a particular information can be sent and received through that particular device by using the IP address. How can we know what is the IP address of my particular device? Let me tell you, you can get the information, you can get the IP address of your own by going to Google and searching what is my IP. Google will quickly identify your IP address and show up there. Now IP address can be separated into two types. One is static IP, another is dynamic IP. The IP address, those are given individually and assigned to each individual devices. Those are not changing, those are static. The particular IP address, static IP address dedicated to one device, that is called static IP address. Whereas the dynamic IP address is changing automatically. It is given to the internet service provider or router, where the IP address will change each time the device connect to internet. This is the difference between static IP address and dynamic IP address. Sometimes the ill-minded people do crime over internet. That crime can be tracked, that device can be tracked, and that particular IP address can be tracked. However, using that IP address, that device information, the criminal can be tracked. So you don't worry about that a particular criminal over the internet cannot be punished. How an IP address is assigned? All of these IP address can be assigned by one authority, that is Internet Assigned Number Authority. This is a non-profit US organization. That organization, the work of that organization is to assign individual IP address. So let me guide you over how they assign the things. So they will assign some group of IP address to individual organization like office, school. Then from that they have a different IP address available for each of the router, and from router we can have different IP address for different devices, where this can be tracked through, this can be generated, this can be informed through the internet service provider. Now you will ask, who is the internet service provider? The service provider of internet is the company who provides you internet. From that internet service provider or ISP, we can generate, the company can generate different IP blocks for different devices, different routers. By this method, when government wants to shut down or close the internet for particular state, particular region, they can block the particular individual IP address for that ISP, and the internet is being shut down for the whole area. This is the purpose. This is how the internet shutdown is possible. While you fire up internet through your browser, the particular IP address from that device will link with that information, and the server information, like if you are searching something over Google, then the Google IP address can also be tracked. From bottom IP address to top IP address, everything can be tracked, every information can be stored. By this method, the communication happens over the internet. Typically, routers are configured by default to have their private IP address as the first host ID. So example, on a home network that uses 192.168.1.0 for a network ID, the router is usually going to be 192.168.1.1. Of course, like most of the things, you can configure that to be something different if you want. A device IP address actually consists of two separate parts. One is network ID. The network ID is the part of IP address starting from the left that identifies the specific network on which the device is located. Similarly, the another thing is host ID. The host ID is the part of the IP address not taken up by the network ID. It identifies the specific device information on that network. I know you must have curiosity, I know you must have a doubt. That doubt is, can I connect to the internet without the IP address? No, the internet cannot be used without the IP address. However, you can redirect the IP address, however you can mask the IP address. That can be done through using VPN. That means a VPN, virtual private network, can hide your IP address. By hiding that IP address, you can browse through internet and the internet cannot be tracked. However, the cannot be tracked word is not suitable for this. The everything, each individual thing can be tracked on a criminal activity, but you can hide your IP address to get rid of different advertisement scenario, to get rid of different kinds of thing. Like, let me give you the example. The Google service is not available in China. If you want to use the Google service like Google search, YouTube, Gmail, you have to mask your IP address. For that, you need to install a VPN and purchase a VPN plan. If you purchase the VPN plan, then that IP address can be masked. We can use different IP address from India or from other countries, and we can use the Google service by using the VPN. So this is the purpose of using of VPN. If criminal minds are thinking we can hide our IP address, that is not true actually. I think the information of the video is helpful for you. If you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment section below. Right now I am signing out from this video. We'll see you in this next video. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye. If you liked this video, why don't you check out my other videos on my YouTube channel.